Ever wonder what happens when a suburban queen throws a fancy party right where a farmer's about to unleash a cloud of pesticide? Let me tell you about the day Anna, the HOA's self-crowned dictator, learned that nature doesn't care about your clipboard or your champagne flutes. It was a spring afternoon, the kind where the sun's just warm enough to make you forget troubles brewing. I was in my barn, elbow deep in grease, fixing a sprayer's hydraulic line, when I heard a knock. Not a neighborly tap, but the kind that says someone thinks they own your front yard. I wiped my hands, stepped out, and there she was, Anna, in a lime green blazer and heels so white they screamed. I don't step in dirt. She was fanning herself with a stack of papers, smiling like we were old pals. Tom, she said like she'd earned the right to my first name. We're hosting the HOA's spring gala on that cute little strip by your fence. The VYEW of your fields is just so pastoral. I squinted past her. That strip was my land, marked by a steel fence I'd hammered in myself, a survey line clearer than a summer sky, and a sign screaming "Saw private property saw." She must have thought it was yard art. I told her, polite but firm, that she couldn't set up her shindig there. I was crop dusting all week, pesticide, plain, the works. Her guests would end up wearing chemicals like cheap cologne. She nodded, flashed a smile sharper than a new blade, and said, I understand. That smile meant she didn't. 3 days later, I pulled up from the feed store and nearly dropped my coffee. A crew was hammering tent stakes into my grass, 3 feet from my fence. A white canopy loomed like a bad wedding venue. One guy was blowing up silver balloons, another was rolling out a red carpet. I stormed out of my truck, boots crunching gravel, and hollered, Y'all lost or just blind? They froze, muttering about being hired by the HOA boss. I pointed to the sign, then to the chemical tank in my barn with a skull grinning on it. That got them packing, but not for long. Anna rolled up in her golf cart, looking like a general in a suburban war. She told her crew to keep going and strutted over, clipboard in hand. Tom, it's just a few chairs and fairy lights. We'll be gone by dusk. You don't even use that patch. My jaw tightened. I'd planted seed there days ago, and even if I hadn't, it was saw mine saw. No permit, no notice, just her assuming the world bowed to her plans. I told her again, I'm dusting at noon and 4. Planes ready. She rolled her eyes. Crop dusting? Isn't that a bit ancient? You're being dramatic. I offered to write her a sonnet about lawsuits. That shut her up, but only till morning. Next day, I pulled around and saw the full circus. A band was tuning guitars. Tables draped in white linen lined my fence, loaded with mason jars and roses. Folks in pastel suits nibbled shrimp skewers. And there, dead center, Anna stood, raising a sparkling glass in front of my "Saw No Trespassing" saw sign like she was toasting her own empire. I sat in my truck stunned. I'd warned her twice, pinned a schedule to her bulletin board, even sent her a text. This wasn't ignorancy, it was arrogance, begging for a lesson. I climbed out, leaned on my gate, and nodded at a guest who waved like I was part of the scenery. Then I headed to the hangar. My crop duster was fueled, gleaming under the sun. The windsock showed a breeze drifting east straight toward her party. I strapped on my headset, fired up the engine, and taxied out. Guests started noticing, pulling out phones. Anna waved like I was her personal air show, mouthing, He's just a show-off. I wasn't aiming for them. I was working my field. But the wind? It doesn't RSVP. I lifted off, banked over the soybeans, and released the spray. The mist arced wide, caught the breeze, and drifted light, misty, relentless right over her gala. I glanced back once, saw the chaos spark, then focused on the sky. They wanted rustic? They got raw. The first scream came from a woman by the dessert table, flailing like she'd hit a wasp nest. The breeze curled the mist over the tents. Tablecloths flapped, dresses billowed, and gasps spread like a brush fire. The band's sax player choked mid-note. Glasses clinked as folks scrambled to cover their drinks. Anna stood frozen, her smile twitching as she realized the haze wasn't just fog. I circled again, keeping the plane steady, nozzles precise. The wind didn't care about her guest list, it moved the mist with cold efficiency. From the cockpit, it was surreal, a pastel mob DVYing under tables, knocking over cheese platters, balloons bobbing like they were laughing. I could almost hear Anna's shrieks from 500 feet up. A guy in a suit tried shielding a tray of cupcakes with a plate. A woman in stilettos sprinted for the clubhouse, clutching a pillow over her head. Someone tripped over a speaker, crashing the band's gear in a clatter of cymbals. The drummer bolted, leaping into the HOA pool like he was dodging a bomb. These folks, who'd spent weeks bragging about artisanal cocktails, were now scattering like roaches in a storm. Anna's husband, Mark, ran to her, holding a tablecloth like a shield, his khakis soaked in punch. Anna, still rooted, waved at the sky like she could yell the wind into submission. I made one last pass, low and tight, finishing the field. The mist fell exactly where I'd planned. I landed smooth, cut the engine, and grabbed a water bottle, watching the wreckage unfold. Tents sagged, flowers tipped, string lights tangled like a drunk spider's web. Chairs were flipped, napkins clung to dresses like soggy ghosts. Mark paced by the fence, looking my way with a mix of guilt and dread. I waved, slow and deliberate. He knew I was in the right. Anna, though, wasn't done. She stormed over, barefoot, heels in hand, face red as a beet, yelling about sheriffs and poison. I pointed to the sign she'd posed by, the one screaming saw crop dusting in progress saw. "You're on my land, Union vy Ted," during a scheduled spray. I said, calm as a pond. "Wynn's not my employee." She looked ready to chuck her shoes at me. Guests straggled over, asking for towels or a hose. One old guy, grinning, said it was the HOA's best drama in decades. I offered the high pressure, paint stripping strong. Most passed. By dusk, the cleanup was a sad parade: trash bags, broken vases, and a speaker looping static like a funeral dirge. A health inspector showed up, tipped off about a chemical hazard. I handed over my spray logs, chemical specs, and drone footage. They nodded and left. Anna, still pacing with her soggy clipboard, watched her empire crumble in the sunset's glow, a peacock drowning in mud. The next morning, Sheriff Daniels rolled up, coffee in hand, looking like he'd rather be fishing. He'd gotten calls about chemical warfare, and a note accusing me of mass poisoning, reeking of perfume and fury. I showed him my logs, permits, everything. He flipped through, chuckling, and said it was tighter than the HOA's rulebook. He asked if I'd done it on purpose. I shrugged. Followed my schedule. Wind did the rest. He didn't push. Anna, though, was a tornado. She sped up in her SUV, vanity plate flashing saw Ho Queen saw, and demanded my arrest for endangering lives. Daniels asked for her permit. She had none. He showed her the property line. Her face collapsed like a bad souffle. She peeled out, her dashboard gnome wobbling like it knew she'd lost. Then the internet caught fire. A guest's video hit the web, Anna's speech, my plane's roar, the screams, the egg salad faceplant. It was 45 seconds of pure chaos, spawning memes, parodies, even a clip with my duster dubbed as a UFO. The local Facebook group exploded, half raging at Anna's stunt, half cackling at the meltdown. Someone suggested hazmat suits for the next HOA meeting. My grumpy farmer rep flipped overnight. I was a meme hero. Even Mark showed up, sheepish, with a six-pack and an apology. We sat on my porch as he admitted Anna's ego had spiraled. I told him to brace for the fallout. The HOA's emergency meeting was live-streamed, and oh, was it a show. Anna, hair stiff as her pride, sat at the head, ranting about rural terrorism and aerial assault. She looked like a general whose army had fled. Then Joe, a board member, asked if she had a permit. She stammered. He pressed, "Did she notify me? Check the signs?" She floundered. Joe held up a screenshot from the video Anna toasting by my sign, smug as ever. The room went quiet, then erupted in laughs. Residents piled on, ruined clothes, sick kids, misused HOA funds. Someone revealed Anna's due la 12,000 catering bill, charged to the community. Mark, in the back, looked like he wanted to vanish. Joe moved to boot Anna as chair. The vote was near unanimous. She was out. A week later, Anna sent a letter via her lawyer, saying she'd drop any legal fight. She stood on my porch, no clipboard, no sneer, just a tired woman who'd lost her throne. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said. "Don't need it," I replied. "Just stay off my land." She nodded and left. I filed a complaint for trespassing and crop damage, not for revenge, but because lines matter. Anna's house hit the market soon after, her hedges gone wild. Mark said she was hunting a new HOA to rule. Good luck to them. I built a taller fence, added a motion light, and hung a new sign, "Saw private farm. No trespassing. Crop dusting in progress. You've been warned." Saw for kicks, I nailed Anna's old gala and VYT beneath it, flapping like a white flag. One evening, as the sun sank, I flew the duster again, the mist curling clean in the calm air. Kids on bikes waved. One pointed at the sign and laughed. From above, Anna's house looked small, just another tile in the suburban grid. The land, though, stretched wide and steady, unbothered by her noise. It didn't need applause or grudges, just a man who knew its worth and a breeze that knew its moment.